Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. A few days ago, we spoke about the fact that many legendary lords in Total War Warhammer 2 do not pair up in terms of quality with some DLC release legendary lords. The grand majority of these ones that need a lot of help are those of the base game factions. I focused on the fact that these factions do not need a complete and utter overhaul, but rather a minor one to give them more of a unique feel, so the factions themselves don't feel like a NPC faction, just one of those ones without a legendary lord. Today, as many of you can imagine, I'm gonna cover the Skaven, specifically Clan Moors and Queek Headtaker. So without further ado, let's begin. Clan Moors is one of the base game factions for Total War Warhammer 2, a warlord clan, one of the most powerful to be in fact, but the thing is with warlord clans is that they're not really known for too much. Yes, they can be quite famous, and the fact is that Clan Moors in lore is probably one of the strongest contenders to become a great clan. But they don't have the monstrous capability of Clan Moulder, for example, or the scientific minds of those of Clan Skryre. So what does Clan Moors have that puts them above all other minor warlord clans? Well, simply put, Clan Moors has legions. And yes, while this is something very common within Skaven clans, what sets them above all others is that Clan Moors specifically breeds very loyal Skaven, where it would be much more common to see battle-hardened regimental units of Skaven clan rats and storm vermin than through other clans. This is not really represented that well in Total War Warhammer. Instead, barring all the buffs that Queek himself has, the clan itself plays like any other minor Skaven clan. There's really nothing to it. Yes, Clan Moors has some things which strike them above other clans, like for example having a clan headquarters, which is something that only playable factions get. And of course, in the Mortal Empires exclusively, being able to gain access to Karak 8 Peaks, which will give you some minor faction bonuses. But even then, after acquiring 8 Peaks and building the 2 landmark buildings there, you pretty much have lost your incentivized mechanic. That's pretty much it, you don't have anything else to work for, barring completing your campaign of course. So how could Clan Moors be worked around a little bit to be made more enjoyable and be brought up to par with DLC legendary lords? This doesn't have to be a drastic change. In fact, we have to take into account that obviously this is a beginner's faction. But seeing as Clan Pestilence already received a rework, why not Clan Moors too? So let's list out my thoughts on possible changes which would make Clan Moors much more enjoyable. Firstly, we are aware that the Skaven from Clan Moors are much more loyal than most others, very much similar to those of Clan Eshen, so I believe that Skaven warlords and only Skaven warlords should not have the loyalty function. Queek is not a fan of magic, and we've already got the representation of -2 loyalty for Greyseers, but the fact is that Clan Moors relies on a large amount of armies of frontline units, so it would make sense for the Skaven warlords not to have any loyalty function. This should also be paired with a change to upkeep, not only for clan rats and storm vermin, but to all units all around. A reduction of upkeep for say 10% or so for all clan rats and all storm vermin for all armies. This would eventually be paired with the upkeep reduction you can get in Karak 8 Peaks. Obviously, in terms of balance, they should maybe increase the upkeep of all units that aren't considered to be Clan Moors. Nothing too drastic of course, but just something to be noticeable, until you can eventually afford to work on more armies and bring in more artillery and so on. A second headquarters building, whilst not needed, would be nice. Of course, this would be at Karak 8 Peaks. Yes, this would be a bit more powerful, as obviously 2 of them would provide massive food bonuses, but it makes sense for a eventual headquarters to be made at 8 Peaks. Next, we do obviously have to add in some more negatives, because if we just added in positives for a faction, well, then it would just be too overpowered. So once again, let's revisit the Graciers. Currently, they suffer a -2 loyalty when recruited by a Clan Moors player. And yes, that works for early campaign, but eventually there is not that much that you'll need to do to make sure that loyalty is always on top. So what I think is that Clan Moors Graciers should also have an increased upkeep cost. You have to bear in mind, if we're looking at things thematically, Queek not only distrusts the Graciers, but he absolutely despises them. The feeling would obviously be mutual, of course, so hiring a Gracier's talents would probably be a bit more difficult. And more than likely you'd have to pay more to be able to sustain them. This would fit with the whole melee theme too. You'll still have access to magic through Plague Priests and Warlock Engineers and so on, but through heroes instead of lords. Next would be some sort of trophy rack, very similar in a way to how Grom the Paunch has his kitchen. This would be known as the head taker mechanic, where you'd set yourself a target and launch an invasion against that target. Should you be able to kill the character in question in battle, you'll receive a head from that respective race. So for example, if you killed a dwarf lord, you'd then get a dwarf head. As you acquire heads, you could put them on the trophy rack, and maybe you could have 1 to 3 heads active at one given time. Depending on what head you would make active, then they would provide different bonuses at different levels. So let's come up with a hypothetical scenario. Say for example, you can have up to 3 heads active at any given time, and you've got access to a dwarf head, and you've got access to the 3 different slots. Each slot would then give a different level of the same bonus. So in regards to the dwarf head, slot 1 would provide a 1% increase of income faction wide, slot 2 would provide a 2%, and slot 3 would provide a 3%. This would make sense as obviously the dwarves themselves are money focused. Now if you use a Bretonnian head for example, it would provide a bonus to leadership to your armies. Again, 1, 2 or 3%, nothing too drastic. These are just minor buffs that you could play around with and swap around as you acquire more and more heads. And finally, something minor to give you incentive to hunt down your rivals. Of course I'm referring to Belegar Ironhammer and Skarsnik. The way I see this being done is should you end up acquiring Karak 8 peaks before they do, then they will automatically declare war on you. And they should be your permanent enemies unless they take Karak 8 peaks from you. Then and only then should you be allowed to acquire a peace treaty. What would make this a bit more interesting is if every maybe 15 turns or so, they'll spawn an army right outside Karak 8 peaks. This of course would have to alternate between Belegar and Skarsnik. So for example here, every 15 turns you will get an army from Belegar being sent to you, and every 30 turns you would get an army being sent to you by Skarsnik. This event itself would happen every 15 and 30 turns respectively, and this event would only stop if you managed to take out the respective faction. This I believe would probably be the best way, given Total War's engines and limitation, to more or less represent the struggle for the City of Pillars. That way, it's not only about capturing 8 peaks and then just moving on to different locations, but actively trying to defend it. As in some cases throughout my playthroughs, I've rarely seen any need to deal with Clan Angrand or Skarsnik. They just end up doing their own thing, and I've never really seen an incentive to go and attack them until I've decided to spread my Skaven Empire throughout the regions that they hold. But these are my ideas in regards to a Skaven Clan Moors rework that wouldn't really take too much to do, I'm imagining, as most of the stuff that I've already talked about has been implemented in one way, shape or form for other factions. I've gone over campaign effects, faction effects and so on, and everything already has already been implemented there, even the last point, as that could be more or less scripted in a similar way as to the Chaos Invasion. Yes, I am aware that this is taking mechanics from other lords and just altering them slightly, but then again it doesn't always have to be in the sense of a truly unique mechanic. Sometimes sometimes even just reworking small mechanics already implemented is enough to make a faction much more fun. But what do you guys think about this? I honestly think something like this would just make Queek more enjoyable, and it would give incentives for people to play Clan Wars more. In most cases, I'm seeing a lot of Ikit, a lot of Clan Eshin. It just makes more sense as they have their own unique things, and let's be very honest, that Clan Wars currently plays like every other average clan. The only difference is Queek once again. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion, shall we? But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel has been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.